Welcome everyone to unfortunately a very different fans forum to the ones we've had in the past. I hope you and your loved ones are keeping safe and well, and like me, looking forward to when we can next go and watch a football match again. Since the last fans forum at the end of January at the Riverlin Hotel, the football world has changed beyond belief. And at this moment in time, we've got no idea when we'll play our next match. At the point in the season when it was prematurely ended, we had seen a transformation on the pitch, with Darren creating a team to be proud of again, and statistically one of the form teams in the league. We were also looking forward to the North Riding Senior Cup semi-final up at Mask United, and possibly another trip to the Riverside, which would have been a great end to the season. Because the season ended when it did, we lost our last 4 home games, including the potentially very lucrative match against FC United. Having spoken to their chairman a few weeks before the game, we were convinced that that match would have had an attendance in excess of 2,000 people, so that was a shame that we lost out on that. And of course we also had to cancel our sportsman's dinner with Neil Warnock. This resulted in the loss of around £40,000 in revenue, meaning at that time we had bills to pay and our income had virtually stopped. The response from Sea Dogs around the world has been amazing, and I would like to thank each and every one of you that has contributed to our survival effort. Whether it was via the Valley Bar Sea Dogs GoFundMe page, individual donations, through the supporters club, signing up for the Borough draw, or even buying some of Bunner's chips at one of our virtual games, as I know I did. Every pound has really made a difference to saving this club. The good news is that we've now weathered the initial storm and secured the club's short-term future. The problem now is that we don't know how long this is going to go on, which is why we've been pushing the Borough draw to give us some of that monthly income that we desperately need to pay our fixed costs. I'm confident that with us all pushing in the same direction, we can get through this, and the good times will eventually return to the Flamingoland Stadium, and we can get behind Darren's team and create that fortress that I know he wants. Back to tonight, fans forums have always been extremely important to us as a club, and it's now interesting that the FA are looking at how they can encourage supporters at all clubs to be more involved. With us, we're already there. We are 100% supporter owned and 100% supporter run, and nights like this encourage openness and ideas. We've had some really great questions sent in, which just goes to show how much everyone cares about this club of ours. A big thanks to Martin and the media team who've put this all together, and let's hope that next time we can meet in person. Over to you, Martin.
Good evening everybody, and thank you Trevor, and welcome to the virtual fans forum this evening. We've got a variety of different questions to the board and obviously into Darren Kelly, and also some statements from the community team and a roundup of the junior action and what's been going on so far over the past 12 months. We're going to kick off with a question to Nick Finch from the board. Liam Watson has asked, I have seen a couple of teams in our league have put kit designs out for the supporters' votes, and I thought it was a really good idea. Is there any chance we could look at something like that in the future with a winning kit being unveiled or the kit launch? Over to you, Nick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for all coming to the forum firstly. My question has come from Liam Watson with regards to fans potentially having an input into the design of a forthcoming shirt. I remember in the days of Queensgate we did a very similar thing actually, and it went down very well and the sales are pretty good actually, and it is a great idea to have more fans input. Over the past few years we've been quite constrained really with commercial reasons for specific shirts to be used, which is just the way the club has to run really to make it sustainable and get the best income and projects for the football club to run. But as this year's a little bit different with the return with the COVID-19 situation coming to us, it is something what we can run. Macron have actually got a piece of software which allows us to be able to give you, the fans, a chance to be able to design shirts. And it's something we will be moving forward for in the very near future. So if you keep a lookout, it is something which we'll be doing. We're also looking at giving some of our younger fans the opportunity to potentially design other items such as scarves and flags and such like in the forthcoming few weeks. So again, if you keep your eyes peeled, it should be something we can be doing. I'm sure it'll be something which we'll be running in conjunction with our partners, the Scarborough Evening News as well. They've been really great for us over the last few months, so may that continue with us. I think that's about it really. We'll be looking at various other opportunities for you fans to get involved a little bit more in the possible merchandise we're bringing out and such like. So it's obviously very key for us to all work together at this point, and it'll be great to have your input. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Cheers for that, Nick. Right now, over to Darren Kelly for his first question of the evening, and this one is from Paul Adamson.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all keeping healthy, safe and well. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to do this fans forum. I've always maintained the importance of doing a fans forum, or in this case a webinar, because it gives the supporters a great opportunity to ask literally any question that they want, and I will always answer it as best and honest as I can. So thank you for that, and thank you for the questions. I have a lot of questions here, so I'll crack on with them. First question I've got is, it's well known that you're not on a contract, Darren. Is that your choice? No. I was approached last week by the board in regards to a contract, which was, I must say, music to my ears. But I think it was probably more what they said at the outset in terms of, we see you as a person to take a club forward. I think that was the key message. And then to be obviously offered the opportunity to, receive a contract again was fantastic. And yeah, hopefully that can be sorted as soon as. But the big thing and the important thing within that key message was, we see you as a person to take a club forward long term. And I know the project that's at hand. I know it needs to be done within that project. And now hearing them words, I'm really excited and undertaking the project. So thank you for that question. And yeah, I'll move on to the next question.
Cheers, Daz, that's brilliant. Okay, next up then is a question for Andy from the board from Chris Pilmer. And Chris says, is there any room for a fan liaison officer on the board who can engage on a regular basis with fans and act as a link between the supporter owners of the club and the sitting board of directors, perhaps taking shareholder points or concerns to board meetings and report the results of the board meetings back to the relevant shareholders, perhaps add it to the responsibilities of a community on a welfare director? Over to you, Andy. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for your question, Chris. Even though Scarborough Athletic is a 100% fan-owned and run club, the business of liaising with society members and shareholders and the wider fan base is a critical function that the board is aware of and has actually been discussing for some time now. The existing 10 directors have specific remits for the club, and we feel that bolting on fan liaison to an existing role actually wouldn't do it justice, because in practice the job should involve acting as a named first point of contact, organising and running regular fans forums, and I think we know we need to get better at that, helping to put together and distribute the weekly club newsletter, responding on behalf of the club to fan feedback, and advising the directors about any specific issues that members and fans are concerned about. So it's probably a dedicated role. With that in mind, and with spare places on the board, we're seeking to create an additional club director role for communications. It means there'll be a vacancy on the board at the next election this coming autumn. So anyone who might be interested in taking on the communications role on the board will be strongly encouraged to stand, or even consider a more immediate board appointment through a co-option process. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone who might be interested in this new director role, and my email address is on the screen. So thanks again, Chris. That was a good question. I hope I've managed to go some way towards answering it.
Right, then we're heading back over to Darren now, and Darren is answering a question from James Pilmer.
Thanks for the questions, guys. Next question is, do you have any pre-match rituals? What's your routine on a game day? Well, the like of the team and that, I announce on Thursday night after training. We'll do our bits and pieces. Next season, the players and new players will fully see what I'm about, because I'm very in-depth and, you know, do a lot around the analysis and everything on a Thursday night. But on a Saturday, obviously a Saturday morning, I'll go through me notes, stuff that I need to touch upon, maybe in a team talk, etc. When we get to the ground, make sure everything's planned and prepared and everything's done right. Obviously, you say your hellos and all that side of thing. Then when it comes to before the game, I'll get the opposition team where the players are going out to do the warm-up, etc. I'll get the opposition team, I'll put it in the board against, you know, players of our own team. You know, I always talk to them about the individual battles. There are going to be battles all over the pitch, so give them an idea of who they're playing against, and maybe a couple of little bullet points and their strengths and areas to sort of maybe areas of weakness that they can try and exploit. But when it comes to it, really, but that stage, the real attention goes in during the week. Saturday's just touching upon it, you know, from a psychological point as well. You know, it's, you know, the players will have already prepared mentally and physically for the Saturday, so the key messages are done before then. Saturday's really just about touching upon things and then putting the facts in place, hence obviously the team shape and a couple of little bullet points, strengths and weaknesses, and then away they go and undertake the task at hand. Yeah, thanks for that question. Thank you.
Right, that's perfect. Thank you very much. Next up, we have a question for Mick Davison from the board. This is asked by Paul Adamson, who has said, could any savings be made by changing a supplier of matchday food delivered to the stadium for officials and players? I'm led to believe that the Crown Spa Hotel currently provides this service, but as they are the only 5-star hotel in Scarborough, surely they charge more than perhaps a smaller local business would. Why not just use a cafe? Over to you, Mick.
Thanks for your question, Paul. Firstly, to set all clubhouse catering in context, the responsibility and accountability for all the hygiene and food safety issues falls to our landlords, everyone active. As such, everything we do has to be approved by them, and indeed, this was part of the arrangement we struck with them, as if you remember initially, we didn't have permission to provide our own catering, and of course now we do. The on-site kitchen next to the bar is very small. It's not appropriate for the preparation of either hospitality or the player and officials' food, and we don't have access to it anyway, as it's limited to everyone active staff only. This leaves us to provide food that is not only of an appropriate quality, but also in a way that fits the hygiene demands of everyone active in terms of the delivering of hot food that hasn't been made on site, and also the serving of that food. To do that effectively, economically, we decided to use one caterer for both hospitality and the post-match food. We discussed not only the food but the staffing needs with several local caterers, and while most could offer small savings compared to Crown Spa, they couldn't guarantee the quality and the hygiene standards reached by the Crown Spa that satisfy everyone active. We've also developed, been able to develop a partnership with the Crown Spa that's resulted in savings on our two main events, end of season awards evening and the really successful sponsors events that we've held. As well as that, we've had free rooms from them for meetings and interviews, so the partnership's developed really well. What this doesn't mean is that we won't continue to review our costs in this area. We do that before each season and obviously during the season, but we'll have a major review before the season at budget time. At that time, we'll look at alternatives as well as going back to any current suppliers to renegotiate costs.
And that's brilliant. Cheers for that. Right, Jim Hunt is next with a question. This will be to Sarah Dowie. And Jim says, could we look at integrating club officials and fan travel more often next season? There have been cases where 2 buses have been paid for, when there's been room for everyone on only the one bus? Is it money that could be saved by the club? Okay.
Hi Jim, thanks for your question. I hope you're well. This is something we've discussed several times as a board and with members of the Valley Bar Committee. I'm sure you're aware that we did this for the Shields game when the Valley Bar ran 2 buses and officials joined 1 bus, and we experienced firsthand what a great day out it is. Fan support at our away day is fantastic, and I know how hard the committee from the Valley Bar Travel Club make to make sure fans have an enjoyable day from the moment they step on the bus to the moment they're dropped off. However, there are a number of logistical issues for club officials which do mean that integrating travel with their fans on a joint bus can be a bit tricky. Firstly, we travel with the kit, which has to be picked up and dropped off at the club, and then has to be at the away venue in plenty of time. Usually, to be honest, that's not a problem, and I know many a time you've got there early enough for us to enjoy a drink with you pre-match with the travel club before we go up to there. The main problem comes after the match. We're unable to leave straight after, as there are a number of official administrative tasks we have to do, and sometimes that can take, it's usually a minimum 1 hour, but sometimes it can take up to 2 hours to complete. So it would mean that anybody that was on the bus with us would have to wait that amount of time. And I know some of you like to get back quickly, especially if it's a long journey. You don't want to be kept waiting, you just want to get back home. Also, for the board and other officials, away matches are often work days for us, and we're doing official club business. And we sometimes have to conduct that business to and from the match. So we need to be able to work in a confidential environment on the coach, which again makes it difficult sometimes to be on a bigger coach where everyone's there. In terms of finance, I do want to reassure you that it'll have very little impact in the club. Officials, we all pay for the cost of the minibus ourselves, and we pay for our own travel expenses. It doesn't come out of club funds. As I said at the start, we do discuss this as an issue. It's under review. Darren's also very keen for the players to have their own coach for away travel, and we're looking at ways to achieve this either through corporate sponsorship and or partnership with a coach company. So that's the situation at the moment. I'm not saying that it won't change, but as I said, there are a number of issues that do make that integrated travel quite tricky for us.
Right, we've still got a number of questions left, but what we're going to do now is we're just going to head over to the communities team to see what they've been up to. Over to you guys.
Hi, I'm Hayley. I sell the Golden Gamble tickets, and I'm also part of the community inclusion team. The restrictions that we are currently under have been very challenging both to ourselves and our families, but there is a sense that the dial has been reset and we are beginning to view things in a different light. This is especially true with how we think and care about people in our community, which is why we are excited to be partnering up with North Yorkshire Horizons Community Asset Team and Andy's Man Club. We will be exploring how best help and support local people who are making fantastic progress in their recovery and treatment plans, and how we can help men who have struggled with their mental health in the past but are taking real positive steps to rebuild their lives again. Stay safe and see you all soon. Up the Borough!
As part of our Community Inclusion Plan 2020 to 2022, we would like to give you some brief details of 2 areas that we will be working on. The first is football in the community.
We are currently exploring how best we can roll out a programme of taking football into the backyard of the children and young people in our community.
Our plan will be to enlist the support of players, coaches and medical staff from Scarborough Athletic Football Club. We would work alongside North Yorkshire Youth staff, early help staff and other youth groups to deliver sessions in Filey, Eastfield, Barrowcliff and Scarborough District. We would use the multi-use games areas as a venue.
We believe this is a positive way of engaging children and young people in our community.
The second part of the Community Inclusion Plan 2020 to 2022 is Football Buddies. So over the past months, the community team have been working with a number of charities. This has included Scarborough and Rydale Carers Resource, Mind, Dementia Action Alliance and others.
Our overall aim was to look at how we could partner up with these organisations to reduce loneliness and isolation. Our engagement with these organisations has been incredibly positive and we have learnt a great deal.
We are now looking to recruit a number of people and offer them training to work as football buddies. They will receive individuals and families at the football matches. If you would be interested in finding further information, please get in contact.
Stay safe.
Hope to see you soon.
Right, now we've got another question for Darren Kelly, and this one is from Jill Briggs. Over to you, Daz.
Next question. Previous managers have come under some criticism in the past for perhaps having too many contracted players in the squad, and we have had to pay people off to release them. What is your view on contracts at this level, and how many would you say is a sensible percentage of the squad to be contracted? For me, there's a couple of different answers to this. There's pros and cons of contracts. But the key message, going back to the first part, is, some managers have come under some criticism. I know previous players have come in under previous managers, but they haven't done their due diligence into the players. Just because a player has played in a league above or two leagues above, and they've asked this one person, what are they like? And they've said he's had a good game. They think it's acceptable to sign him. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. Every player that I put on a contract, I have 100% trust and confidence in. I've watched them with my own eyes. I would never sign a player having not watched them. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. But it's been done in the past. And unfortunately, because the due diligence hasn't been done into them and managers haven't watched these players, then it gets to the stage. And I'm going to expand upon that as well. As much as they might have a good background and they played hard, but also what they like coming into your change room. Are they a good person? Are they going to fit into what you're about? And that's been a key message within that. And any player that I've ever signed, I do absolutely everything and make sure I have 100% trust and confidence. I'll know the player. I will have watched the player without a doubt, but I will have also done my background, what they're like as a person in the changing room. In the past, it hasn't been done. I know that. I remember even one of the managers telling me he's done that and actually phoning me about a player when I was previous manager somewhere else. So I think these situations are absolutely, they're insane in my eyes. As I say, you will live and die with a sword in terms of what you're going to do. If I'm going to bring players in and not have watched them, I think I'm on a path to failure. But every player that we bring in on contract, the due diligence will be done into them. I know they will be a perfect fit for what they've done. I will have seen it with my own eyes, but also know what they can bring to the changing room, whether it be leadership qualities, whether it be good personalities, it's going to fit in with other personalities. Well, if it's good experienced player, I do all the backgrounds into that because I think it's very, very important. The next part of that is, and how many would you say a sensible percentage of the squad to be contracted? For me, I don't mind contracts. There's different ways and pros and cons of contracted players. You look at the fact that it's sealed money if you don't have a game or a home game for 1 or 2 weeks. There's that, getting that and finding that money. But the other side of that is, you've non-contracted players. If there's no games, they don't get paid. But yet, and the situations that I had last season was you had a couple of clubs come in for a couple of our players who were under non-contract. I've never lost a player to another club due, they're going to go and have a better environment or something like that. I haven't had that. But what it does is it unsettles the player for a week or two. I believe 100% in what I do and the environment I create. But, when a club puts 7 days and it unsettles that player for 1 or 2 weeks, and it really gets it, I always notice it different. I think I'm experienced now to see it and deal with it. But ideally, the key players coming in, if you can get them in contracts, I think it'd be great. The con against that is obviously if you haven't got a home game for 1 or 2 weeks. So as I say, there's pros and cons, but there's the other side. If the club puts in the 7 days and they're speaking to the player, then there's that side that might be that 1 or 2 games that he might not be himself because his head's been turned slightly. So again, hopefully that answers that question for you, but a really good question that.
Okay, wonderful. And next up we have a question from Steve Adamson. Steve has asked, With the new exciting manager of the club and the new stand making the stadium accessible to smaller children, now could be the time to reintroduce the matchday mascot on a weekly basis, adding to the matchday experience for kids and giving the stadium that little bit more of a family-friendly feeling. Could we get the costume dug out, cleaned and a volunteer found in time for the new season? This one's going to be answered by Sarah Dowie.
Hi Steve, thanks for your question. I hope you're well. I'm glad that you like the family atmosphere at the stadium. It's something that we've worked really hard to try and do with the sea pubs and with a lot of the community work. As you may have seen, our mascot's already been out and about this season. It was at the opening of the one-stop shop on Huntress Row, which marked the opening of our concession stand. So Seagull and our mascot is definitely ready for action. It's unpacked, it's ready to go. It's definitely something we could reintroduce once the season starts to add to the matchday experience. I agree with you. I think it's a great idea, especially for our younger fans. We've already had a couple of people express an interest in volunteering for the role. Obviously, with everything that's happened with the COVID-19 situation, we've had to put that on hold. If anyone else is interested, please get in touch with me and we can organise something once we've got a firmer idea of when the new season looks like. In the meantime, there are obviously safeguarding procedures that we have to go through, so we can start looking at that in place. But thanks for your question, that's a great idea, and I can definitely confirm that our mascot will be out and about once the new season starts.
Right, Darren, back onto you again, and this one comes from Paul Adamson. Here we go.
Next question, thank you. A couple of clubs have started announcing who they've retained and even a couple of new signings already. When can we start to expect names for next season's squad being revealed to us? Thanks for that. We've already announced two players who are fantastic additions to the team, who add great strength to the team in Kieran Glynn and Kieran Wilelgi. I think they'll be massive assets to the squad going forward. We've also had so many positive talks with obviously the current players. Jack Johnson is leaving us. Jack has been absolutely fantastic over the last number of years and for me since I've come in. But so many positive talks with current players in terms of next season. A lot of them, as you can imagine, have had offers elsewhere, but I'm hoping through what we'd sort of started last season and what we're going to, again, add strength to going forward next season. Hopefully they'll see their future with us. But again, talks are continuing. As it stands, all very positive and very good. And hopefully we can unveil more retained players and obviously hopefully a couple of new signings over the weeks ahead. Thank you for that question.
And now over to another important side of the club. This is Paul Exley, and Paul's going to talk to us about the junior side of things. All yours, Paul.
Evening, everybody. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. Just got a junior update for you for last season, just to explain how things have been going. We started the season off fairly well. Our new move to Farley went smoothly pre-season and we're getting games in. Unfortunately, come October time, we had bad weather, rain, that just didn't affect us at home, but a lot of games were called off away due to other clubs having waterlogged pitches and unplayable surfaces. So come towards March time, and as everybody knows, the epidemic ended up stopping football in all the junior leagues as well as our senior ones. So we managed to get about 3/4 of the season played, and that's not taking away any of our performances. I think the 5 teams we have playing in the Junior Premier League, which is the national league that plays regional leagues, did exceptionally well. We started in these leagues a couple of years ago, and we started to now cement our places in those leagues, and not just the players, but the coaches are getting well respected throughout all the bigger clubs, if you like, that we play against, and they've really started to make a mark in those leagues. and then we have a couple of teams playing in the whole boys league. Before it all finished, we had one of them at the top of the league, and the other one had already booked a place in a final. But unfortunately, their leagues finished and the cup competition finished as well. And then we had our youngest age group playing in the Scarborough Minor League, which is a non-competitive league, and they had been playing and gelling well for the first season in there, and unfortunately that league as well got cut short due to the epidemic. So frustrating year as it has been for everybody, but on the bright side of things, we are really starting to develop players that are standing out and competing in leagues nationally as well as locally, and we're also starting to establish ourselves out at Farley, where we've been lucky enough to rent the facilities for all our training and games, and the Farley Community Sports Club that we get the facilities from have donated some money recently so that we can put some money back into the pitches to redevelop them and make them better playing surfaces and help us with if we do get any bad weather next season. So all in all, frustrating but a rewarding season because a lot of positives and just disappointing it finished short, but altogether great progress by players and coaches. Thank you.
Wonderful, cheers for that. And next up we have a question from Phil Healy. Now Phil Healy has asked, I know it's been asked before, but just looking for an update. Have any plans been made to improve the PA system? The main problem now seems to have shifted from the shed to the advocate stand. I don't know if the PA system was improved in the shed or just seems better since a lot of the fans have moved out of it. But the advocate stand, you can't hear any announcements. Over to you, Mick Davison.
Thanks for your question, Phil. The PA system, its installation and its maintenance falls under the responsibility of everyone active, as it's a key part of their daily safety routines and procedures. There were issues with their amplifier that were addressed earlier in the season, which probably explains why you've said the sound quality is now better in the shed, and that was work that they do. However, in terms of the advocate stand, when deciding the priority of fittings for the new stand, we were, as you know, limited by the budget we had, and as such we couldn't afford to work with everyone active to extend the PA system at the time of construction. It is our intention to work with them on this in the future, once funds allow, either as a separate project or as part of any further ground improvements. As soon as we know, we'll give you the information. Thanks.
Okay, and now we've got another question for Darren Kelly. This one's from Tracy Fordyce.
Next question, can we retain Tommy Taylor next season, or are we looking at losing him to a team higher up the pyramid? I hope not. Tommy's been amazing since I've come in. I'm a real true loyal servant to the club. I've been chatting to Tommy, he knows how I feel, as well as his agent. And especially going forward, to be successful, you need real top quality, and Tommy's that. In my opinion, Tommy's the best keeper in this league. So fingers crossed we can keep Tommy. But as I say, we will continue to be in touch with Tommy and his agent, and hopefully we can strike a deal for next season. Fingers crossed. Thanks for that question.
So I just wanted to ask the board what the plans were for the long term, both on and off the pitch, and have these plans been affected by COVID-19? But I also wanted to ask about the playing budget for this season. I'm sure everyone will agree that a club like Scarborough should want to be pushing towards the top end of the table. Are you going to be giving fans a chance to boost the budget if it has taken a knock, of course, due to the coronavirus?
Thanks for that great question. You've covered a couple of really important issues in one question, and they're both linked together. First, regarding our plans. We have to face the fact that COVID-19 has severely impacted all aspects of our football club due to its financial impact. However, our short and long-term plans remain very clear, but they are now harder to achieve. Short term, we must ensure we battle our way through this current situation and protect ourselves should something similar happen again. Our income streams are currently severely limited, with our two biggest major revenue generating areas of match days and sponsorship completely shut down. The longer this goes on, the bigger the impact on next season, not only due to the constant drain on our resources by our fixed costs with minimal income, but we must remember that our sponsors have been having a tough time as well, and they might not be able to be as generous again next season. Long term, our aim remains the same as it always has and is written into our constitution: to play football at the highest level possible within a prudent financial framework. If we split that into two parts, the first part is how we start every season with the ambition of promotion. The second part means that just got a whole lot harder because of our current financial situation. Which leads me to your second question on the playing budget. Our financial structure is such that supporters always have the opportunity to boost the playing budget. This is because as a not-for-profit organisation, once we've budgeted to cover all our costs, every penny that's left goes to the manager for the team. It is true that my conversation with Darren regarding next season's budgets have been the same as with every other manager, in that he always wants more than we're able to offer him. However, Darren does understand, and he'll be working very hard to put the best team possible on the pitch that we can afford. So at present, if anyone wants to help with the playing budget, supporting any of our income streams helps. I'm not ruling it out in the future, but we haven't started a separate Boost the Budget campaign for a couple of reasons. First, we still need to keep raising money to ensure we keep the club safe, which has to be our number one priority, and we wouldn't want to deflect our efforts away from that. And secondly, we felt unable to start asking for more money. Our supporters have been so generous over recent seasons, having had two major fundraising efforts, being the stand and now COVID.
Thank you very much. And now on to a question from Chris Pilmer. He says, we sponsored Luke Loss last season, and when he left the club, no alternative player was allocated to us. We also didn't receive a picture and shirt when he left. Can we get assurances that this will be monitored more closely in future seasons? Over to you, Sarah Dowie.
Hi Chris, thanks for the question. As I'm sure you understand and you alluded to, we obviously need to be flexible because we can't guarantee that the players that start at the beginning of the season with us will still be there at the end of the season. What normally happens in these circumstances is that towards the end of the season, if your player has left the club or has changed, we'd automatically get in touch with you to allocate a new one. The COVID-19 situation and the sudden termination of the end of the season meant that there's been a delay in that process. Unfortunately, it's been made a little bit more complicated because the shirts that we do have for all our player sponsors are actually still on the Everyone Active premises, and we're unable to do that. Now, normally, as I said, at the end of the season, we would have got in touch with you to organise that. What we will do as soon as we are able to access the Everyone Active facility and we're able to get the shirts, we will get back in touch with you and all our player sponsors to organise for you to have the shirt that was part of your sponsorship package. On another note, we have discussed as a commercial team the sponsored package for player sponsors, and while we feel it's great value, you get your player sponsor, you get your name in the programme every home match, you get exclusive tickets to our February commercial event where we have all our corporate sponsors there, and you get to have a little bit of an opportunity to meet directors, players, other sponsors and the first team and find out about our plans for next season. What we'd like to do to make it a little bit more exclusive is any player sponsors from next season will be able to participate in an exclusive draw event, and that will be either pre or post one match at the start of the season. During that event we will draw the names for anybody who has sponsored a player, and at the event the players will be there as well as the first team management, which will mean you'll get to meet the player you've sponsored, you get to have your photo with them if you'd like, and just also get to meet the other players as a bit of a thank you for the opportunity and the funding player sponsors provide to help us provide the best team possible and continue letting Scarborough Athletic be in the strongest position possible.
Okay, that's brilliant. Next up then we have a question for Darren Kelly, and this one is from Liam Watson.
Hi guys, again thank you for the questions, really good questions, and I just hope you're happy with the answers that I've given. The next question is, what is the aim this season and what would you consider disappointing? The aim this season, without any shadow of a doubt, is to be challenging on all fronts. That includes the league and all the cups. Again, for obvious reasons, for financials, I love to see supporters as well, the excitement of going on good cup runs, and it'd be fantastic if we can do that. I believe if we assemble the squad that I want to assemble, that we can really go and do something really good this season. Again, with everybody playing their part in that. What I would consider disappointing, I don't really like to think of disappointment, to be honest, but it would have to be obviously the opposite of what I've just said, going out of cups early and not being at the very least in the playoffs. I would consider that very disappointing, especially when I know what we need to do to challenge in terms of assembling a strong squad, and I believe it can do that. So yeah, hopefully that answer's okay for you. All right, thank you.
Okay, next up, Mick Davison's been asked to answer this question from Ken Bell, who asks, could the club look at installing hooks or attachments at the rear of the shed and advocate stands to encourage fans to bring flags and decorate the stadium? It's quite limited where fans can hang flags in the ground without covering sponsorship boards, and I think everybody that went to FC United earlier this season will agree that the flag display in the ground was inspiring. All yours, Mick.
Thanks for your question, Ken. I agree with you. It is very inspiring to see a really good flag display. We all want to see that. We've discussed this at board level, and indeed we've looked at safe additions to the stand to enable this to happen. Once things are back to normal, I'll be able to have a talk with everyone active in the council, as they would have to approve this in terms of safety. Once this is done, we'll be able to inform supporters, get the work done, and hopefully be ready for this when the season starts. Thanks.
Okay, then on to our next question. This one is to Darren Kelly, and it's from David Evans.
Next question, thank you. I've seen a lot of clubs make announcements about the retained list of players, but not yet from Borough. Just a few tweets about comings and goings. However, those who stay will form the heart of the club for next season. Do we have a list of players yet, even if it's only partially complete? Do you know what? We're way down the line with that. I'm hoping now within the next week or two that we'll really get the list out there in terms of who's staying with us and who could possibly be leaving. But I'm very, very hopeful and confident, as I say. The big thing is obviously nothing official can be done to the 1st of July. I've started speaking obviously to potential new players as well. I think if we can add a couple more and retain the majority of the squad, I'd be very hopeful that we can really challenge next season and have a good season. So yeah, hopefully within the next week or two, we'll start to get more announcements out there in terms of the retained list. Good question, thank you. Bye-bye.
Good evening all, Irish Mark here. This evening I'd like to put a couple of questions to the commercial team. My first question, would you consider increasing the prize every month to £300 for a first prize? It only takes 10 new members to justify this and make it financially viable. And I'm sure a £300 prize for a £5 a month outlay would be very, very attractive around the town. Second question, possibly introduce an extra prize, the loyalty prize, of say £50. To participate in this draw, you'd have to already be a member and buy a second ticket. I'm probably sure that a lot of our loyal fans, already members, would take this offer up. Thank you for your views. Stay safe, everybody, and up the Borough.
Hi Mark, thanks for that question. It's a great question because it gives me an opportunity once again to highlight just how important the Borough draw is to our club at this current time. If you'll allow me to do that, and then I'll answer your questions. At this time, with us having no income from playing matches or sponsorship, the regular income from the Borough draw is absolutely massive as far as keeping us afloat on a month-to-month basis is concerned. The £5 or more per month that supporters have committed to is really making a difference and helping us pay our fixed costs that apply whether we play football or not. It's a great way to support our club whilst at the same time stand a chance of winning some money. To answer Mark's questions, the good news is that although we need more people to join, since we started promoting it as a way of getting us out of our current problems, the number of entrants has grown considerably. We set a target a couple of months ago that should we reach it, we should review the price structure. At a recent board meeting, it was agreed that as we were nearly at our target, it was time to agree what those changes will be. We felt that the top prize of £250 was right for a draw of this size, but we wanted more people to be winners. I can therefore announce that starting with the draw taking place in July, the price structure will be as follows. The first prize remains at £250. The second prize will be increased from £75 to £100. The third prize will remain at £25, but there will be an additional two £25 prizes. Your second idea around a loyalty prize, whilst it's a great idea, it's actually extremely hard to administer. We decided to go down a slightly different route. You'll have noticed that we've already added a season ticket for next season into the next draw, which takes place 1 week today on Saturday the 13th of June, and then in the July draw the additional prizes or the additional prize money will be available. Thanks Mark.
Okay, cool. And now over to Del Gunson from the sponsorship side of things, and he's got a question.
Evening, it's Del Gunson from the commercial team, and I've been asked to answer a question that's coming from James D. What role do our sponsors play to ensure we're in a strong position for next season? It's a very good question, James, thanks for asking it. In a word, it's massive. With everything that's going on with COVID at the moment, appreciate there is a lot of uncertainty about when the season is going to start again, but when it does, our sponsors that we have in place, a lot of them very, very long standing, very loyal, are going to be absolutely vital for ensuring that we can be as strong as we can in terms of our players and what our playing squad looks like. The big word at the moment is budget. Everyone's wanting to make sure we've got the strongest team possible on the pitch. Darren, his team, all the board, everybody else following the club, and we all want the same thing, which ultimately is a really strong season and hopefully be up there when it comes towards the end when we're aiming for promotion. So just so everybody's aware, in terms of the revenue that's generated for the club, because as we all know, we're a fan-owned club, we don't actually have a big owner behind us providing funding like some others. The actual commercial revenue we generate from sponsors is actually at the moment around the same as what we generate through the gate. So it's absolutely massive as part of the overall budget and what we're looking for. So what we're looking for next season is to kind of really build on all the existing relationships we have. And that goes throughout. If you look at all the kit sponsors that you see, the one-stops, Coventry Universities, Wazology, Life's Energy, Alto Digital, all of those we hope to continue with. And just so everybody knows, if they don't already, the away shirt is up for grabs for next season. We are looking for a new sponsor, so really looking to see who else would like to get involved. And also with the stadium as well. So if you see the St Cecilia's, the Everyone Actives, the Adversets, again, all absolutely massive what we're looking to do, as well as all the ground boards. There's so many local businesses and organisations support us. And what we wanted to do is really hope that all the fans, everybody watching this, will continue to support all the local businesses as they come out of lockdown and they start opening up again, to ensure that they get to where they are as quickly as they can and hopefully be there for us next season. So I hope that answered the question. Obviously get in touch if there's anything else I can answer, and I hope you have a really good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, next up we have a question for Darren Kelly, and this is from Paul Hatfield.
Hi guys, again, great questions, loving the questions. Hopefully I've answered them effectively for everybody who's asked them. But the next one, another great question. What would my take be on every player being on the same financial arrangement? Bonus tweaks could be made for loyalty, league position, etc. But an initial signing, just one rate to pay would apply. I think it'd be a fantastic idea, but it just wouldn't happen. Because what you have effectively, especially even in our league, is you have a lot of competition. Rest assured, every player who I've spoke to about coming to Scarborough, they've had 3, 4, 5 different offers, from different clubs in this league. Some of the clubs are paying astronomical money, and the first and most important thing I would never ever do is put the future of the club in jeopardy. I think that's a key thing. But if you're chatting to players, and it's their bargaining tool, but I have a conversation with them where it starts with the vision, almost our USB, what we're looking to do, what the vision is to be successful, to come and play in front of our great supporters, big crowds every home game at a lovely stadium, and again the main thing, just trying to be successful. So that's what I'm looking to do first and foremost. But again, there's that bargain inside where you'll speak to a player and he's looking for this and he's looking for that, and when they go over the top talking about money, I become uninterested and I look to end the call early. So you're always going to have that where players they're always looking to try and get as much as they can, and you can't blame them for that. But you have to again see past that, right? Will they buy into what we're looking to do? I think that's the key thing within that. But again, the money side of it, where if you have an experienced player who's had promotions under his belt and he's on this money, and then you have a young whippersnapper 19-year-old coming in who's played local leagues and him being on the same money, it could really create a divide within the change room, and that type of thing. So I think it's a great thing if it could happen, but it would be very difficult to do. Even a previous club who I manage, they had a decent budget, shall I say. The players were all on different monies, but aside from that, you had a budget for bonuses for league positions, etc. Cup runs and all that, and yeah, it was fine. But at our level, it's very difficult to do that and to manage. At the end of the day, I've got a budget to work with. I know the leagues very well. I know players' worths, which I think is the important thing. I know in the past some players have got a lot more money than what they probably deserved for their abilities and what they offer. So I like to manage a budget. I have a budget there to work to, and I'll work to that within the the means of the football club. And as I said before, I'll never ever jeopardize the football club. So I just try to manage the budget and give players their worth. But again, the key thing is, buying into the vision of what we're looking to do, playing in front of you guys, having our supporters, encouraging and supporting you for 90 minutes, the level of adrenaline that gives you, it gives you an extra 10-20% as a player. So that's my selling point first and foremost, and then the money's trying to bargain with players and things, and some players are worth it and some players are not. But hopefully I've answered that question okay for you. All right, thank you.
Okay, next up we have a question from Paul Adamson. Paul has asked, can we implement a limit to people gaining free matchday entry, so just matchday volunteers and nobody else? A lot of fans feel it's unfair that some people don't have to pay, even if they have done things to help the club along the way. Not paying an entry fee goes against the community spirit that the club has been built upon. Everybody should pay, no exceptions. This one's to Mick Davison.
Thanks for your question, Paul. It's certainly a topic that's discussed regularly by supporters and for some time now. The matchday pass list, as it's called, contains player guest passes, complimentary entry for matchday volunteers, visiting directors, scouting requests from other clubs, sponsor and hospitality guests who will have paid entry to the ground as part of that package, league and FA officials, our first aid team, mascots with their parents, again they'll have paid for that as part of the package, and members of the press. it's worth mentioning that, like all our directors, some of our volunteers have in fact got season tickets or pay for entry on match days. Over the last season, the proportion of pass entries out of the total gate came in just under 10%, which, if you take out the people who have mentioned that are on the list but have already paid as part of another package, leaves you with an average of about 80 people per game or so that don't pay to get in, basically, 80 per game. Of these, on average, 35 are volunteers, club volunteers and members of the press. Approximately 15 are away directors and visiting officials. And there are 30 player passes that are issued for each game. Now, Paul, having contacted you to ask for more clarification about what you meant by some people in your question, between us we've identified that it's these player passes that are causing concern with the supporters. The idea is that we issue approximately 2 per player to use for family and friends. However, it's clear that these are pooled by the squad, and a greater proportion of these passes are used by local players amongst their friends and family in Scarborough. The discussion here really is about what people see as fair. Some people might argue that the existing system is fair and that it's the squad's choice as to how they distribute their tickets. Others, however, may argue that 2 tickets per player should be the strict limit and the tickets shouldn't be shared. It's certainly something we've discussed at length at board meetings, where in fact we decided last season to reduce the number of tickets from 40 to 30 for the players. However, I feel it's perhaps time to discuss this as member shareholders at this year's AGM and try and put this issue to bed once and for all. As such, I'll be suggesting to the board that it becomes an agenda item for the AGM where an appropriate discussion and decision can be made by the member shareholders. Thanks.
Okay, then this is another question for Darren Kelly, and this one is from Simon Earl.
Next question. Nathan Cartman has been released by Farsley. Is he a viable target for us at this level? He's a top goal scorer. Nathan Cartman I've admired for a number of years, very proven goal scorer at this level. I had a chat with him, I've spoke to him. I would be foolish not to, because of what he can bring to the team. I think he would fit well in our team. So as I say, I've had the chat with him. I've produced my USP, as I call it, to him, which is our unique selling point, because I think from our point, I think the opportunity to play in front of our fantastic supporters, over 1,000 at every home game in our fantastic stadium. I think in terms of the training, the professionalism, everything we do behind the scenes from a training aspect as well, how I can even develop his game, I believe, even at his age, I think is a USP for him. So I've made an offer to him, but like as we know, a proven player like that will have great options. I think he'll have 5, 6, 7 clubs, all vying for his signature. So I put everything to him. I put an offer to him that is within again the budgets of what I'm looking to work towards. So I'm just hoping by what it spoke to him in terms of the vision that's what he'll buy into. And the money's not really, the money's sort of a secondary issue to him. But again, very proven, promotions, 20 plus goals per season. I think it'd be a great addition to the side. But again, I'll have a further chat with him next week, and fingers crossed, it's nice, positive, and we're on the right road to things. But thank you for that question.
Right, fantastic. Right, that's all the questions for this evening and everything wrapped up. Hope everything's been answered for you okay. If you've got any more questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with us at the club. You can email me. It's martin.dowie@scarboroughAthletic.com. Right, take care of yourselves. Stay safe. See you soon.